I can think of two books that have impacted me as a writer. The first book was The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. And the reason, and it's a great book, and it's so beautifully written, and it's graphic, and it really tells a wonderful, sad story. Now, when I read that book, I was a senior in high school. Growing up in Mississippi, I think there's a state law that you have to read Faulkner, which is very difficult for 18-year-old kids. But every high school English teacher in Mississippi believes that you have to read a lot of Faulkner. And we were not enjoying reading Faulkner, okay? So my high school English teacher, my senior English teacher, had pity on us and also made us read John Steinbeck. And she started with a short novel called Tortilla Flat, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I showed some interest in something academic, which was a shock for any of my teachers at the time because I thought I was an athlete. And so this teacher began giving me all of Steinbeck's books. Not all of them, but most of the good ones. And she saved the best for last with The Grapes of Wrath. And I read it. She and I talked about it as I was reading it. And I remember thinking, you know, if I could write, I would love to be able to write this clearly so that the reader always knows what's going on, which is so unlike Faulkner, who is, I think, deliberately obtuse. He just wants you to stay confused. And so that book had a profound impact. It didn't inspire me to write, but it's one of those books I go back and read periodically. There are a handful of books I go back and reread occasionally. As a writer, Little Drummer Girl had a huge impact. Early on, I read it before I started writing. It came out in about 1980. I read it probably 5 years later because I had read some of his earlier books and put it down or finished it. And then when I started writing The Firm in about 1988 or so, I went back and read Little Drummer Girl just because it is so intricately plotted and it's so smart and just tells a great story. So those would be my two books.